Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the closing ceremony of the Las Vegas Remedy User Group Conference 2021. We're not done yet. We still have a whole plethora of sessions this afternoon and this morning. And don't forget the Christmas party that we're having this evening. I spent a good hour and a half wrapping up the 30 different white elephant gifts to pass around as well. So just want to put that in there that we do. We've had a lot of fun the last 2 days. Not a lot of people showed up last night, but we did have great conversations about dashboard reporting and the futures of it. We talked about REST API and things like that. So we did have a good group that got together and did some deep diving discussions at the Birds of a Feather. And today we're going to get into additional breakout sessions. Primarily, I'm in the showcase in this room after one presentation first thing in the morning. Then after that, it's my show, I guess. And then in the other room, we have a bunch of other presenters that will be standing up and doing a lot of presentations still. This evening, you can wear a Christmas outfit if you want. I don't care. We're in Vegas. Nobody's going to say anything, but I will record. I will film. I will post it on the website because I think it's going to be a pretty good fun event and so forth. We will have the white elephant, as I mentioned. We have some Remedy old stuff, but we also have some Las Vegas stuff. And then there's 4 hidden prizes somewhere within the stuff as well. So 4 people are going to have a lucky day, maybe, because somebody sees that you have it, they may take it away from you too. So that's for us tonight and today. And then we do have a guest speaker. John Stevens Hall will present provide you with an insight into whatever he's going to provide. And that'll be first thing this morning as well. I would like to go ahead and thank the board. Phil Batista, as you know, he's been running the Bryant Park B. He's also was the start off with me. He and I started organizing all this all together and just started going. And then all of a sudden, we realized we needed help. So then we got Bob Ellington involved, and Bob is a guest of Bull Creek Data here. So we have to hide his company name, I guess. I don't know, but he's a guest. And then, of course, Jason floated in and started helping us on some of the technical aspect. He's done our VM with containers and things like that, and he's kind of kept us in line as well. And then, of course, my old football photo. And then there I am, the current me versus the old me. We also have a few other people that we'd like to thank, and that is Karen Ellington. She's been helping with a lot of our functionality, talking, sitting here. She spent all day Monday watching us, telling us what we had to do. So she was kind of like I don't want to call her a mother. She was kind of like our wife, told us how to do things and what to do things and make sure that they're done. So she kept us in line as well. And we were very appreciative of her helping out as well. And then we have Barb Sodich, who was actually doing all the badges for us and making sure all of you signed in and so forth in that capacity as well. And I'm sure I'm missing some people, but just want to make sure that we cover those that are primary volunteers. I also want to thank Margaret Lee for providing our guest speaker at the beginning of the conference. Oh, by the way, did everybody get a notification from me that for access to the Google Drive? So you can get her speech, you can get all the presentations that people gave to me that uploaded it on there, especially like the Helix PowerPoint. The gentleman did post those up yesterday. So if you have any issues with getting to the Google Drive, send it to me and I'll see what we can do. For those of you that are on BMC, if you wanted to upload something, you'll have to send me a non-BMC email address because for some reason your domain does not let you upload on a Google Drive. So we'll take care of that. The other thing just to remember is also the recordings that we're doing. We will post those up on YouTube. We will give everybody that registered access to the YouTube video. So if you wanted to view them, you can do so. We'll let you know. That's going to take a few days for us to do it because we're still recording today's stuff as well. Okay. I want to thank our sponsors. Without them, of course, we could not afford the food and the liquor and this whole facility to present for everybody that's here. I'd like to thank some of the hotel individuals that helped us get through this. Natalia Nikulin, she's the one that was my point of contact. I worked with her several years ago when I ran a training class here. I liked the New York facility, and we kept on going. She helped us go from one small room to a bigger room to these rooms. So you can thank her for keep on letting me know, hey, we have availability to spread out. So we worked with her constantly going back and forth on everything in here. So she was the mainstream for us on that. On the hotels, we had Tatiana Hamlin and in New York group that got us set up with the codes. For those of you that registered with New York, they basically gave us that discount until like a couple of days before and so forth. But we met our numbers, so thanks for registering. Thanks for staying here as well. Now we have a guest speaker, John Stevens Hall. He is with BMC Software, and he is the principal product manager for BMC Helix ITSM. This is a little bit of a background about him. I don't quite know what he's going to talk about, but he will let you know. And he's going to let you know right now. So John, I'm stopping the sharing, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you. Nice to speak to you all. Let me just check I can share the right screen. That's the one. Okay, just a moment. I'm fairly new to this advanced world of double screening. Okay, so I'm hoping you're now seeing the PowerPoint. Is that the case?
Yeah, if you can expand it for us, John. There you go. Now we have.
Excellent. Okay, so firstly, great to meet you all. I'm there's some background. My background is probably quite similar to some of you. I've been around Remedy. I've been around BMC software for a long time. I started out in 1997, in fact. So my first version was 3.0, and I often think in a big user group, there's probably people who can beat me on that. But nonetheless, I feel I've got an interesting perspective to bring sometimes to things like this, because I'm one of those people, one of the few people who's been a customer and a partner, because I did 5 years with Fusion, and a BMC employee. So seeing this from quite a few sides. I've also been around ITIL a long time as well, because that first job back in 1997 as a fresh-faced 21-year-old graduate trainee at the Yellow Pages company in the UK, my first job was to actually build ITIL driving systems for ITIL 2. So been around in service management and ITIL a long time, and I guess I like to try and always have the role of the slightly benevolent troublemaker. So as a result, one of the things I've been most involved with in the last few years has been ITIL 4, and principally some of the things we need to do to drag, to make sure we're pulling service management into the modern era, where we all need to be to make sure that our roles are valuable and contributing and secure into the future. So that's me. I'm based in the United Kingdom. I mean, you're all in Vegas, but I don't need to come to Vegas because I've got Peerview Amusements in Deal. There we go. It's got all the slot machines and things you would need if there's about 12 of you. So it's very, very, very similar, I think, to the Mirage Casino. Maybe Bellagio at a push, but so there you go. If you're ever in the UK, come to Deal and you can get your Vegas fix at Peerview Amusements here. That's a lot of my 10 pence coins as a small child went in there. So what I wanted to talk about, it might overlap a little with some of the things Margaret was saying, but I wanted to kind of get into more detail on where we feel we need to be thinking in the medium and long term about where service management goes. And this quote, I think, really sums up the world that we're dealing with. Obviously, in my role, I get to talk to a lot of big companies, present company included, and we're all facing, to some degree, a degree of existing shift towards new ways of working, new technologies, and the kind of DevOps era. But if you were to go to a DevOps conference, you'd almost believe, and I go to a lot, and I recommend things like DevOps Days. They are tremendous learning experiences, and DevOps Days is also very cheap, so easy to get that approval for, and there's lots of them around the world. But you'd almost believe that the utopia was almost here, and all of us with legacy software and infrastructure and old practices and old services are going to change overnight. But that's not true. It's just not true. No, there are very few companies in the world able to execute on that. And a lot of the thinking that DevOps brought to the table has emerged from startups. It's emerged from open source companies. As I like to say, it's probably a lot easier most of the time to be Spotify than it is to be Bank of America. because those companies have had the luxury, admittedly, they're the survivors. So there's a slight halo effect survivorship bias in this because many startups didn't make it. But the startups that have become those big companies now started from a green field. We didn't. And I think this quote here from a big bank, a big global bank, really sums it up. They thought a few years ago everything was going to change, but it turns out that everything doesn't change. And when you think about a simple transaction today, like moving money from one bank account to another, I can do that from this phone. I can do it in 30 seconds. It's so easy. I log onto my banking account. I've got other pays set up. If I want to transfer to a member of my family, it all happens in an instant. That is the new world as far as the user is concerned. But of course, when I hit that button, when I move money from one account to another, or another favorite example of mine, because I'm 6'7", I change my airline seat a lot, because you have to if you want to sit. Just making that change again. If you change your airline seat, it can be one click on your phone, but in reality, you've just interacted with half a dozen CRM systems. You're with operational systems, with flight management systems, with some kind of system somehow that's just stopped somebody 11,000 miles away in Sydney allocating that same seat to someone else a few minutes later. There's a huge amount of complexity under the hood, and although DevOps is embracing this complexity very well, what we don't have is a great answer for how to deal with that legacy. So I think complexity is really important to understand now in this modern world. And complexity doesn't just manifest itself in IT systems. There's been a whole new emergent science of complexity over the last maybe 20 or 30 years, and it's really fascinating stuff, especially to someone like me who was brought up on a 1990s IT degree, and everything was kind of deterministic and designed up front. And a lot of that now is not the case, because these structures, these systems, you can't plan that travel agency network around the world. You can't even really plan how complicated banking is going to be in 3 years. It's going to happen. So understanding complex systems is really important to understanding the future of service management, and some of the definitions of complex systems. And I mean, this is an example, just the London streetscape. This is not so much, what's that line from Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? This wasn't so much designed as congealed. And as a result, it constantly exists in a state of latent failure. There's always something in this structure going wrong, always. Any complex system. Usually the complex system is resilient enough that people figure out a different way around, and things generally continue to function. So most of the time, these little flaws in our complex systems are not going to break everything. And they're constantly changing, and the technology is constantly changing, and the landscape is constantly changing. Things evolve. In the current evolution of the London streetscape, we're finally getting a few decent cycle lanes after many, many decades of absolute car dominance on the actual streetscape, at least. They're introducing new charging mechanisms for emissions and congestion. So whatever's wrong today in a year is kind of irrelevant. There'll be something new. So the whole thing is kind of broken, but it's not, because it still manages to run. And any one of those issues, any big failure, these issues can combine into a big failure, but it's very, very rare that any single root cause will break the system. It's resilient enough to avoid that. You need 2, 3, 4 things to go wrong at once. So this paper, How Complex Systems Fail, is really one of the definitive papers on complexity, and I'd really encourage you to look at it. It's when you start thinking about our big enterprise systems in this way, I always think it's quite a revelation. And it also kind of calls into question a lot of the kind of ITSM norms of the past, like looking for the root cause. There probably isn't the root cause. So when we start translating this to this world of DevOps, we start seeing why the State of DevOps report this year, which was contributors, it identified the problem that most enterprises have got some way with DevOps, with agile transformation, but they are, as it says, stuck in the middle. And they don't reach this high evolution stage. And some of the key reasons are this organizational resistance and legacy architecture and complexity and automation. So, the world of DevOps it's proving itself. DevOps itself has proved itself adequately, at least. Past State of DevOps reports have shown that actually when you establish these processes, you tend to get better outcomes on some of the core outcomes that we in ITSM have always been focused on: mean time to repair, change success rate, development to deployment lead time. DevOps is proving its case and then some in this, but it's getting stuck. So the outcome is we're still very relevant. We're still needed. And one of the reasons, if you look at these reasons rather, things like that resistance to change, it's very easy being a company that's built from the greenfield upwards compared to being, say, a bank with financial regulations, or any company that's deeply entrenched in Sarbanes-Oxley and has to demonstrate that any time you touch a financial system, those changes are controlled, or pharmaceutical companies who have multiple regulatory frameworks to deal with around the world. Within that nice, neat, lean DevOps tool chain, which does it so well at what it does, which is deploying changes to part of the system, you can't see the issues in the bigger picture. You can't see that complexity. The teams, the functions in our industry that can see that complexity is us in service management. This is where our kind of role fits in. So I'm going to put a complicated slide up, but bear with me, because I think what we're trying to do with this is really illustrate the difference, illustrate where we're evolving to and why this drives a lot of our decisions. So this is kind of a vision that I'm going to build out here of the kind of ITIL 3 and before traditional way of thinking about deploying and delivering services in a big industrial setting. And I'm going to say up front, there's nothing actually fundamentally wrong with this a lot of the time, but let's build through. So we start, we typically start with the concept of someone requesting something. Something is broken. I need something. I need some infrastructure to build something on. And we've typically in service management, routed that through some kind of front gateway, and we own the front gateway. And the front gateway these days is modern, it's multimodal, you can access things through lots of different mechanisms. We've done a really good job in ITSM, I think, of building good service desks as customer support functions. So nothing here is wrong, but it's sort of the gateway in the traditional model. And from, when we've processed that request, either something gets commissioned by a third party or stuff gets deployed to this infrastructure at the bottom here, and then we start doing the things we do. We can discover it. We can bring it into CMDB. We can start to add some of the operations stuff, bring it into orchestration, ensure it's monitored, ensure it's secure and compliant. And that, and think about the costs as well. So this is kind of the traditional service management paradigm. It's about control at the expense of speed. It minimizes sprawl and complexity because we are able to provide standardized options. We work out best practices and deliver those. And the processes here, well, we can Six Sigma them and we can really hone them, and managers are in charge of making sure these things work as well as possible. And for traditional or established or stable services that are not targets of innovation and can just be industrialized and delivered, this is great. That's fine. But the difference now, when we look at the new era, we're talking about teams with much more autonomy and much more decomposed services. So actually a lot of that instigation of work is not coming through our central portals. It's coming through some kind of internal process in those teams. We're going to see things in Jira before we see them in Helix ITSM, for example. So that's step one that's a little different. And then they're very autonomous. They can deliver their own infrastructure. Software-defined infrastructure is huge, of course, in the DevOps space. So we're talking about tools like Puppet, Kubernetes, direct deployment to public cloud. So stuff is happening over here that we don't have line of sight on up front. And we have to shift to a reactive mode. So what we can do, we can still work with this. We can trigger discovery. These stuff have all got API connectivity. We can make a call to do a targeted discovery run as infrastructure is deployed. We can then also do the stuff that they need to do to harden that infrastructure for the enterprise standards. They can be deploying VMs or containers or whatever, but we still have to think about security, management, monitoring, orchestration, bringing this stuff together. Is where centralization can be very valuable. We don't want 50 different DevOps teams in 50 different tools chains to have 50 different security processes. That's the kind of thing that IT departments should still be focused on. From a service management point of view, well, we're not going to have a 6-month lead time before something's deployed to kind of gradually set up service desk categories and things. We've got to be much more reactive. But again, we can be the value we can be providing here. These teams it works for them when they're in a little startup mode in the industry. Yeah, they'll often start as small teams within an enterprise. They'll build 200 user services, do great things, do it quickly. What happens when they push it out to every single customer? You can't expect that kind of you build it, you fix it mentality to scale to the enterprise. So again, there's huge value here. We've built that industrialized service channel. We've built it in a really good way. So we can ensure that that's all set up. We can also provide that kind of change enablement vision that ITIL 4 has shifted to, away from kind of change being something you manage to change being something you enable. And I could tell you some stories about the bun fights we had changing that name from change control to change enablement in the very early drafts. Change control was the wrong name, and I'm glad we got that changed. But again, what we're doing here is we are now building confidence in the main organization that the stuff these teams do is overseen, managed. We can intervene when we need to, but not otherwise, and that is hardened. So the whole enterprise starts to break that. This is our role in breaking down that enterprise's resistance, and it enables them to be more efficient as well. So that's the kind of, and we can even give them data back, give that side data back. What are you spending? How secure is your infrastructure? Information, again, that is enterprise focused, but valuable to those teams. So the value here is we're not getting in the way. We're providing that confidence, that visibility, that governance. And the message here to DevOps is service management is doing this for you. And you don't have to do anything. We're going to harden that infrastructure for you. We're going to respond reactively. We'll work with your development teams to make sure this stuff just happens. And so there's huge value to be given back there. And so this is what I think, this is how BMC, this is what we're thinking as we think about where we take service management products. This is why we're focused on things like chat ops in Microsoft Teams, on service ops, bringing together operations and service management work. On DevOps enablement, thinking about how we integrate with these tools to provide seamless transfer of information. That's kind of where we're looking for the future of service management. And I genuinely think that of all the companies out there, BMC is the best positioned at the moment to do this. Unlike our competitors, we're not trying to compete with Jira in that kind of tool chain space. Good luck with that one. We're not kind of in the weeds of the tool chain. We're going to be helping those things to run. And in fact, on mainframe, we're very much part of the tool chain in the DevOps space. DevOps mainframe is actually much more mature and successful than a lot of people would think. But BMC are in this enabling position. We're focused on a real world problem stuck in the middle, and we've got the tools and we've got the practices to do it. So we can help those teams build on their existing investments, take the things they already have. We've got an answer for the CIO who's wondering how he or she is going to add any value to DevOps. We're adding AI technology to scale things up. We're building collaboration tooling like ChatOps. And I genuinely think a big part of our message can be, we are key to helping your transformation work. So that's what I wanted to bring today, just to kind of a little bit of a strategic oversight to the way we're thinking about these things, and how excited we actually are about BMC's potential. When I speak with customers about this, it seriously resonates. We've spoken to a lot of pretty senior people in the DevOps teams and the traditional IT side, and the message clicks. So that's what I got. I hope that's a kind of useful way to start your final day. You know where to find me. I'm always open to talk. I'm always open. If you can navigate my time zones, I work all over the time, so don't worry about that. But please feel free to get in touch if you need to. And it's a real privilege actually to be asked to come and talk to you. I know it's one of the most long-established Remedy user groups, and for me, that's I'm never going to not be, whatever we call it, wherever the products go, I'm never not going to be that kind of Remedy person that I've been all my career, and never going to forget this product has been the cornerstone of what I've done with my career. So always great to talk to you, and enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, well, thanks, John. We appreciate you coming on. You can go ahead and stop sharing.
Whoop. You broke up a little. I hope I've not been breaking up.
No, you've been clear. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
I have my back to the speaker. Sorry. To the microphone.
So I got as far as go ahead and share, and then I lost you, I'm afraid.
I think I have it now. I'm good. I got it.
Okay. I'm going to stop the sharing.
Since it's showing.
Yeah, there's some familiar names on that list. Hi, everybody.
All right. Okay, John, if you can go ahead and mute. We'll be almost done in here in a few minutes, and you get back on if everybody wants to chit chat and so forth for the next couple of minutes. Everybody always asks what's going to happen to LVRUG 2022. Will we do this again? The plan is yes, we will do it again. We're also looking at maybe retitling it to take out the word remedy and opening up the doors to other things. We're looking at getting maybe a Kubernetes expert to come in that's from that side, maybe get a Java developer in here to teach some Java developing functionality. So I want to expand this to not just do BMC or third-party products to integrate with BMC products. I want to expand it to where you can get the tools that will help you to understand what you can do with other products to help with all these expansions that are coming out from 210301. So it's still going to be tied around the BMC world, but we want to bring in other outside third-party products to train you on, teach you on. Because all that we are about is about education for the most part. We're about networking. We're about enhancing your knowledge as much as possible is what we want to do.
Hey, Lenny.
So, yes.
How about if so we've got a bunch of folks on, we've got 70 participants on Zoom and folks in the room here. How about can we solicit input from folks? I mean, I know that we're talking about this, you know, we're board and everything. So I just want to leave it open so that we can provide, you know, like BMC said, you know, they're listening, right, to us. So I think I'd like to propose that we listen. So for those of you that have input as far as, you know, what to call it, whether it's, you know, remedy, not remedy, whatever the case may be. We got a lot of head shaking in here when people sit, when we talk about not making it, you know, remedy, using the word remedy. I'm, you know, a lot of us here are old remedy folks. So anyway, I just wanted to put it out there that that I'd like to get input from you guys, and so anyway, that's it.
Okay, well, we did solicit before we started all this to find out what people wanted to know and so forth, and we got very, very little feedback. But now that you've been here and you've seen what we can do and so forth, by all means, we would like to get your opinion on what you would like to see the conference called, where you would like to hold it, because I guarantee you, if you ask me, it's going to be right back here. Because I love Vegas and I'll come to Vegas whether we have it here or not anyway. But we're open to holding it somewhere else. We had a recommendation, maybe having it in California at the BMC locations and using their facility. That is an option. So we'd like your input. We'd like to, in that case, to tell us what you would like to see also at the conference. In following that, I'd like to know what we did right and what we did wrong as well. So we will put out a survey and push out to you as far as asking that so we can try to improve. Of course, I have been writing things that I think have been the wrong thing, but I've never looked at, well, we did a lot of good things too, I think. So in that capacity. Just as a reminder, the presentations, everybody should have access to the presentations now that have been given to us that have been uploaded. John, if you're still on, if you wanted to upload your deck, I can give you the Google Drive link. It's up to you. You can let me know in that capacity. The future.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. I'll make sure I get that to you, but you can't use a BMC. You can't use a BMC domain, so I'll have to have like a Gmail or something else to give you access to upload.
Okay.
The dates and times, call for presentation topics, all that's going to be on the website. I'll enhance it. I'll change it to look a little different. We'll also have the links to YouTube for you to go ahead and get to the recordings. We'll give you a link to the Google Drive again. So all you have to do is one-stop shop. So all that will be on the current website itself. As a plugin, we do run a virtual remedy user group. That name is not changing. This is where we have, I think, about 70 or 90 people that kind of get together every quarter, at least three quarters out of the year. And we dig up, or I should say Bob Ellington does. He goes around and asks who wants to present, so forth. I presented once, LJ's presented once. We had Peter Adams jump on board. So if you're wanting to present, by all means, contact Bob Ellington. He will produce or put out when the next one's going to be sometime in probably February, March time period, because that's the next quarter. We try to do it in the morning so we can get the European participation. We also do it in the afternoon, so we kind of give them, unfortunately, the late evenings type of thing. So we kind of alternate it. We do one session in the evening, and then we follow the next quarter with one in the mornings. So it's like a 3-hour session, sometimes 4, depending on how many presenters that we get. Okay, so that is my plug-in for Virtual Rogue. I don't know if Bob, if you want to add on.
Yeah, so what I want to let everybody know.
You got feedback, Bob.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on a second. Here we go. Wrong microphone.
Switching mics. So what I want to let everybody know that has come to the LVRUG, I'm going to add your email address to the VRUG list. And then after you get my first spam, if you don't want to be a part of it, send me an email, let me know. I'll take you off the list. But the next VRUG will be near the end of February. And we actually have 2 presentations currently lined up. One by Mr. John Stevens Hall and one that Peter Adams is going to do. And I would like to get somebody that's more of a customer or, co-developer out there to do a third presentation on it. Don't want to make it all BMC presenting every time kind of thing. So thank you.
And by the way, I'd like to just throw a big shout out to Bob. Bob and I talked about this, and Lenny also, and we talked about starting this virtual remedy users group meeting. And I got to tell you, Bob has basically taken it over and done far beyond what I could have ever done with this. So big shout out to Bob for all of this. And by the way, we are not changing the virtual remedy group, user group to say anything other than use the word remedy. And I propose that we rename our Las Vegas group to Las Vegas. It's not just remedy. So anyway, that's it. Thanks, Lenny. Thanks, Bob.
Well, we did have the opportunity, or somebody suggested something like Las Vegas Hug for Las Vegas Helix user group as a possibility, but I don't know if you guys want to get hugs from us. I don't know. Pandemic type thing. All right, well, thanks again for attending. Thanks for coming in to our closing ceremony, and we will kick off the next set of sessions at 10 o'clock. You can stop the recording.